welcome to another episode of Reese's Random Reviews. I am Reese, I'm about to give you a random review. Today's random review we're going to be talking about none other than the legend himself, Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock is one of my favourite directors of all time. He's not my number one favourite, but he's definitely one of my top 10. If you've seen my top 10 best film directors, then you can take a look. But today's theory I'm going to be talking about, does silence make the scariest part of an Alfred Hitchcock film? I say this because there's so many examples and so many moments where when you watch an Alfred Hitchcock film, the silence just says it all with the suspense. Let me show you some examples. Okay, example 1, Rear Window. Do you remember that moment when James Stewart's character hears the footsteps come up and then we see the main villain come through the darkness of the door? Well, that works because the whole moment is pretty silent. Apart from the footsteps coming up, obviously, there's nothing but silence. And the silence just makes that part scary in this moment. Another great example of an Alfred Hitchcock moment is none other than the classic film Psycho. Do you remember that moment that after the shower happens, that there's complete silence in the film but continuity of the shower going on? Because if you remember closely, when the female gets killed in Psycho, the music stops and there's nothing but silence but the shower going. And then we hear nothing but silence when the camera pans out of the house. There's also silence in the moment when Norman Bates talks to the main female character, explaining all about his history with his mother. But there's also a little great moment that because there's actual silence, the rain has stopped outside. And he even says that the rain didn't last long, did it? Which is so perfect because it matches the silence of the conversation. Another great example, none other, is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. There's a great moment where the seagull hits into a door and then there's a character called Annie that says that the thing might have lost its way into the dark. But unfortunately, they say that there's not full darkness. There's actually a full moon and then there's complete silence, which is perfect. It really matches the tension of that moment. There's also another great moment with the playground scene, when our main character sees the birds flapping around and sees them all over the climbing frames. And just before as well, when the kids are going to start running, there's nothing but silence but just showing the crows and the ravens. Another great moment of silence in Alfred Hitchcock films that makes it scary is after the moment when there's an explosion and we see nothing but seagulls hovering over the town ready to attack. Again, another scary silent moment. But another great scary silent moment which really kicks it off is Frenzy. Do you remember that moment when a character called Babs walks out of the pub and then as soon as she walks out and stops, there's nothing but silence and then we hear this voice saying, "Got a place to stay?" Again, silence is kicked in. Another scary moment. And finally, there's that wonderful, great camera moment when the serial killer says to Babs that you're my kind of woman, puts her inside the house, shuts the door, and the camera slowly pans out all the way out of the room and onto the street. Again, nothing but silence, and it just works. So that's what I'm trying to say. Silence is always the best moment in Alfred Hitchcock films. And that's one of the theories that I just wanted to throw in because it's so ingenious. But what do you guys think? Do you think the silence works in Alfred Hitchcock films? Or do you think that you probably haven't even noticed it until now? But if you do, you might want to check it out because I think it does. Okay guys, don't forget to subscribe and comment. More random reviews are coming and I am Reese and I've just given you another random review. Oh, and before you go, just wanted to say good night.